Welcome to the bold analysis. Things are boiling nicely, as some people like saying. Things are falling apart. The center can no longer hold. Let me tell you, Justin Muturi has shocked the nation today by calling a press briefing in his residence, calling out President Ruto about the issue of abductions, and in a clear statement signaling his resignation from Kwanza administration. Welcome to the bold analysis. I want to tell you one thing. Those who say that Ruto might not find it easy even to run until 2027. And I think this matter of abduction, much as it was taken lightly, there's something that is not working really well. I'll want you, without much ado, to listen to the statement from Justin Muturi. Then, after that speech, we'll be able to analyze and to tell you what exactly is the interpretation. Before I do that, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel. In fact, I've just realized we can cross over to 100 subscribers even before the end of the month. So we're on course, 2,700 shy of that target. So kindly subscribe. We're heading there. But kindly first listen to Justin Muturi.
Dear countrymen, I've been quiet for some time now, and many people have been asking me where the country is heading and where we are, and so I would like to state as follows. I joined the Kenya Kwanza coalition owing to the fact that the principles that they espoused are in tandem with the principles of the party I belong to, namely the Democratic Party of Kenya. Many friends and political colleagues at the time warned me against joining the coalition, but at a personal level, I was persuaded that would be driven by the ideals and the values that the coalition stated as a hustler nation to do the best for the people of Kenya. One of the things we had accused the past regimes of was the existence of disappearances and extrajudicial killings of Kenyans, and we vowed that we would never, at our watch, condone or allow such. We stated this time and time again in the lead up to the last general election. Today, there has been a number of abductions and in some cases unexplained deaths since the Gen Z revolts of June last year. And it is unfortunate, as most of the people being abducted and or killed are our youth, leaving the parents, relatives, and friends, other family members in a state of confusion and loss. I have personally served as my son was abducted and disappeared, and I was not sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me and my wife and the rest of the family in turmoil. It must be remembered that at that time, I was the serving Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, and as is well known, a member of the National Security Council as comprised under Article 240 of the Constitution. Despite making several requests, I was unable to trace my son, and I made demands to all the levels of the security apparatus of the country. Now, more than 6 months later, after that ordeal and the release of my son by unknown forces, he has not been charged with any offense, and the government at all levels has not been able to give me any explanation or reasons as to his abduction by hooded armed gangsters. Ladies and gentlemen, I have taken this unusual, The security sector has said that they are not involved in the abductions, but interestingly, they have failed to stop them as they are happening in full public glare. The president has equally said that he would want to see the abductions end. Kenyans want to know how many of our youths have been taken in since the abduction started, how many have been released, how many are still being held, and where it is that they are being held. On Friday last week, to wit the 3rd of January, at a funeral in Embu, I stated categorically that it was not possible for the government to say that they did not know anything about the abductions, because that amounts to shunning its responsibility on accountability. That is why I took the issue with a statement made by the Inspector General of Police that he did not know where the abductees are. In my view, the government cannot be excused for abdicating its duty of protecting the lives and property of the people of Kenya. I note that after my statement in Embu on Friday last week, a number of the youths that had been abducted and held in Communicado have been released. But from the reports that we see every day, there are still many that are still being held.
Justin Muturi has made a statement. That statement has been packaged as a personal statement. But as a political analyst, the first question I asked myself, I interrogated was, Sunday, today, what has triggered that statement? It is not entirely the issue of abduction. And in my desk, if you check, I think the Citizen over the week, last week, they had done a story about Justin Muturi. What has triggered that statement? From that presser by Muturi, there are two things that are likely to happen. Either he'll be sacked from cabinet, or number two, he'll be demoted to some other position, then probably leaves. Or number three, himself, he can choose to resign. I'm seeing three options. I'm seeing the third option. Muturi is walking out of Kenya Kwanza administration. That statement, to me, looks like he was in some closed-door meeting, probably with some quota or some fellows. And then after that, he did that statement to test the waters. The conversation about online critics and this and that is something that has been here. Remember Justin Muturi's son, who was abducted way back, I think somewhere in June. He was not an online critic. He was not. And so when Justin Muturi is making that statement, he's saying abductions have been here, not just the online critics. And someone from within the system, there is something I am seeing. Muturi is representing a very serious voice. System is also not well, and I'm going to look at that. Now, remember, Muturi came latecomer in Kenya Kwanza. The former speaker joined last minute. Johnny come late. So he was given Attorney General, then from Attorney General is now moved to some ministry. But is one person who is seen as an outsider, even within the Kenya Kwanza. He's not a founder member of UDA. Number two, he was Uhuru Kenyatta's best friend. And if you look at his politics, in 2007 when he lost and Uhuru picked him from Siakago, and from that point until he served for 10 years as a speaker under Uhuru Kenyatta. You can take away everything from Uhuru Kenyatta, but someone like Justin Muturi credits his 10 years as speaker through the blessings of Uhuru Kenyatta. And today, he's given a statement. This statement is deep, and I want to tell you signs that Kenya Kwanza is in a crisis. Sudi is threatening that William Ruto must get the second term, and if not, they will add the votes. I saw a translation of that story that was done here. So when I did the other video, I did not put that Kalenjin part. I did not get someone to translate. But the translation then is showing that he said, and what he said in Kalenjin, and look at it intentionally, he said it in Kalenjin, that if the votes are not enough, then they will add. Even that is an admission that probably they know very well that the votes are not going to be enough. And the second option B of rigging is already there. I want to tell you, that was a big disaster. At this time, when you want to tell the country you have a track record, then one of your allies talking about rigging, that was a big blunder. But a story is told here. Remember the other Saturday, when Muturi represented the president in the burial ceremony of Lenny Kivuti's son, he tried to read the statement from the president, and people heckled him. And that statement was not read. And then while there, he spoke about this abduction. I would want you to get that snippet. This was in Embu. He spoke about this abduction and he said, I am not going to support that abduction. Now the Citizen was actually reporting, the Citizen newspaper, that tablet was actually reporting that after his statement on abductions in Embu, Muturi allegedly received calls from William Ruto's inner handlers, who normally are very uncomfortable about state officers who are not defending government. Remember, in government there is something called collective responsibility. And a very good example is before Rigathi was impeached, there was a day Rigathi was in Trans Nzoia, and Kisii Senator Onyonka was attacking the government over the Adani deal. So Rigathi did not come to rebuttal the statement from Onyonka. And later Rigathi was saying that some of William Ruto's friends called him and really insulted him, or rather were asking him why he did not rebuttal the statement from Onyonka. So it was very clear that when Justin Muturi spoke about abductions in Embu, it did not go well with William Ruto's handlers. And from there, his goose was cooked. But I wanted to see that even there he knew what was going on. This matter of abduction, the statement from Muturi, another point to know that is in a crisis, is coming at a time William Ruto is trying to win a narrative in public. William Ruto, Oscar Sudi, and his Kalenjin guys, and his Kalenjin allies, close allies, are trying to tell the country that whatever is happening or putting leaders in the coffin is sponsored by some leaders. Number two, and the people who are doing that, I saw some youth saying, we don't need to be paid to hate. We just hate when things are not working. And number two, they've been trying to read some moral riot on the parents that the kids are disrespecting leaders because that has been planted in them by the parents. So that is what the government is saying in public. Now when a minister or a CS in the caliber of Muturi comes out and say, wait, we need to talk about this, he's actually deflating that narrative the president is saying. And I think the statement from Muturi is supposed to achieve some objective I'm going to look at. The shocking presser is a clear signal. It's very clear signal that he's making his exit from Kenya Kwanza. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when or how. Is he going to be dismissed, or is he going to be transferred to somewhere, or is he going to resign? I may not see him resigning. And I want to tell you this, that press briefing was supposed to achieve some objective. That press briefing was supposed to achieve some political objective. He's talking in the context of his son. Now, when he's referring to his son, the son of Muturi, in fact, the country was shocked that Muturi's son was abducted. He's painting a picture, and one of the objectives of Muturi coming out to speak is that this issue of abduction is not only government critics, and it's not about the hustlers. Even the middle class, even the rich, who might be sitting there and saying governments need now to come out and run some riot act on these kids, must know that abduction has no limit. Even his child was abducted. So he's trying to create, and one of the things that this presser by Kindiki brings home is that it's a collective responsibility of the country to denounce and have a candid discussion about abductions. Number two, it is sending a signal to the president that there are some people that are willing to disassociate with administration now. And even the job, the benefits, the fortunes that comes with being a minister or rather a CS, some people are ready to forgo that just to pursue honesty. So it's sending a message, it's sending a signal to the president that we are willing to live. What I may not say, but I'm going to explain in my next phase of this analysis is, who are these people that Muturi represents? So that is the first. The third other objective of that video is very clear, that Mount Kenya is walking out of it. The fourth objective is that the government is not intact. Now, that is the objective of that press briefing. But you need to ask yourself, for Muturi to come out and give that pressure, he is willing to leave Kenya Kwanza administration. That is what he's saying. So that is the question I want to answer in this part. Why is it that people, sometimes being a CS is something, it's a big privilege. We are almost 50 million of us in this country. So one person to come out and say, I'm willing to leave. And it's coming at a time when William Ruto injected some Uhuru Kenyatta axis in the cabinet. Injected some Uhuru Kenyatta axis in the cabinet. What do we see from this that Muturi is willing to leave? Number one, this one-term intel that is sending William Ruto's team in panic is deeper than what we see in public. What I'm seeing here, people like leaders in the caliber of Muturi, they can have access to high-profile intelligence about the state of the country, or rather the state of the economy. And probably they've also realized that William Ruto may be able to serve only one term. And that is why they are willing to make that personal sacrifice. Remember, this is something that in politics, as much as you have the big interest, but you must also serve your individual interest. So in this one, if I understand, Muturi may be eyeing the Embu governor's seat or probably Embu senator seat, but a seat in Embu. And that would have been at the center of the discussion with Rigathi. The second issue is this. Kikuyu axis in Rigathi Gachagua takeover in Mount Kenya is shaking things. I saw a post, someone posted and said, in Mount Kenya, if you don't align with Rigathi Gachagua, you might not be able to get your seat in 2027. You either align with Rigathi Gachagua or forget about your seat. And this could be something, probably when he comes out. Where would your guess? What is your guess? Who will Muturi join? Muturi will likely join Rigathi. He will likely join that Rigathi axis. And remember, Rigathi Gachagua have spoken about a new political party. How about if he decides to use Muturi's party? In that Muturi statement, there is something he's saying, that he joined Kenya Kwanza knowing that his party was in conformity, his party ideology was in conformity with UDA. So in real sense, he's saying that he has gotten some awakening that that is not the situation. So Rigathi takeover is making people to think twice. Kikuyu axis in Ruto administration is very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. And probably it is Muturi, you don't know who next. Now, Muturi is Uhuru Kenyatta's friend. Or rather was Uhuru Kenyatta's friend. Jubilee axis were brought into government. Now, and now Muturi is leaving. Do you still believe that Uhuru Kenyatta is supporting William Ruto? Or rather, do you still believe that thing? I said it in this podcast. That Uhuru Kenyatta never forwarded names to William Ruto to appoint. William Ruto brought up those names and approached those people for his own political optics. If Muturi can leave, do you think Uhuru Kenyatta is still supporting? And lastly, Muturi represents the system. Let me tell you, another team Muturi can represent is the system, the security docket. I will explain about that sometime. That is also another point, because there could be difference in ideology. There could be difference in ideology. Remember last time Japhet Koome was chased, told to resign. Day Kanja is on the dock to answer questions on abduction, something he says he doesn't know. Probably he knows, but he knows it is not within his purview. So in real sense, Muturi could be representing a clique, part of Ruto's administration, part of the system that are uncomfortable with everything going on. Thank you. Let's meet in the next.